Moscow, Russia, which has long burnished athletic prowess as a symbol of its great power status, faced its largest international sporting crisis since the Soviet era on Tuesday when the International Olympic Committee banned the country from competing in the 2018 Winter Games. In a country that is a winter sports powerhouse, one covered by snow much of the year, the ban pitted the desire of ordinary Russians to cheer on their champion skaters, biathletes and hockey players against calls to boycott the Games to show that an Olympics without Russia is no Olympics at all. Beyond sports, the decision carried the whiff of history, when Olympic playing fields were an extension of Cold War battlefields. Back then, to be sure, the sources of conflict were rooted in political ideology, not in performance-enhancing drugs. A number of senior Russian politicians and sporting officials demanded that Russia avoid the Winter Games in South Korea entirely, while others thought individual competitors should make the decision. The ban left open the door for athletes to compete as individuals, under the Olympic flag. The question now is to participate using this status, or not, Alexei Dernovo, a sports commentator on the Echo of Moscow radio station, said in an interview. Some people think it's humiliation to participate like this, others that we should, to allow the athletes an opportunity to compete. In Switzerland, Alexander Zhukov, the president of the Russian Olympic Committee, apologized for violations of anti-doping rules that were committed in our country, though Russian officials have been steadfast that the problem was not systemic or sanctioned by the government. Mr. Zhukov was himself suspended on Tuesday. President Vladimir V. Putin, the most important voice in the decision, was not heard from immediately. He had previously suggested that competing under anything other than the Russian flag would be humiliating. Russia is expected to appeal. There was also a political facet to it all, especially with Mr. Putin's re-election campaign unrolling next February, as the Games take place. Some political analysts predicted that it would have no effect on Mr. Putin's popularity. If anything, it might increase his standing, as the president built his current popularity on the idea that he brought Russia off its knees, ending the perceived humiliations the West heaped on the ashes of the Soviet Union. Other political analysts wondered whether the mounting scandals involving Russia might not begin to reverberate. There is the threat of new sanctions from the United States over election hacking, for example, as well as the investigation into the Trump campaign's contacts with Moscow and a court case in the Netherlands over the shooting down of a Malaysia Airlines jetliner over Ukraine in 2014. There are too many fishy stories in the Kremlin's relations with Europe and the US, said Alexander Morozov, a political analyst and frequent Kremlin critic, suggesting that the public would begin to trust the Kremlin less and Russia's international reputation would further erode. Moreover, the Kremlin does not want to investigate any of these scandals and publish its results, neither to its own society nor to the international community.